time ago. I can't remember what year or day it was, but all I know is that I was really young, and I had a really bad fever at the time. My family lived in a 2-story house at the time, and since my bedroom was on the first floor and my parents was downstairs, they brought me down to look after me while I was suffering. We also had cable at the time, and when I was laying there with a red rag on my head, my parents were watching this really weird show. My mother was worried about me watching it, but my father said I wouldn't understand anything, and he was true. I didn't. The show was about these 2 squid hillbillies who were doing something with corn, I think. I'm not sure what it was at the time, but I did know that it was my first interaction with a channel called Adult Swim, and it wouldn't be the first. Throughout the years, it pops up now and again, whether it be my parents watching the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie on DVD, or me watching the Adult Swim infomercials online. It has always been some being hiding in the shadows that pops up sometimes to show me surreal and entertaining media aimed at adults. And since I've been really into Adult Swim at the time of writing this, now I'm on some other fixation, I thought it would be neat to look at the history of Adult Swim and see why so many teens and young adults dump their memories of the channel on YouTube uploads bumps. So let's take a look and see how Adult Swim came to be. It all starts with William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. The two first met at the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer studio in 1937 while working in the animation division of the studio. There, they worked on cartoons, their main big success being Tom and Jerry. Hanna supervised the animation, while Barbera wrote the stories and handled pre-production. They ended up becoming the producers of MGM's animation output when Fred Quimby, the man who produced Tom and Jerry, retired. They helped with many animations for commercials and title sequences and other MGM cartoons until MGM decided to close down the in-house cartoon studio. After they shut that down, the two went on to make their own studio, HB Enterprises, now called HannaBarbera Productions Inc. They went on to make popular cartoons like the Flintstones, Scooby-Doo Where Are You, and the Jetsons, which killed in the Sunday morning cartoon programs. Sadly, the cartoons that showed on the weekdays were kicking Sunday cartoons out of the way, which started making the Hanna-Barbera studios less money. Later, the studio was bought by Turner Broadcasting System, and with all the cartoons with it, they decided to make a channel to preserve and house these cartoons, a Cartoon Network. See what I did there? In 1986, the Turner Broadcasting System bought MGM for a while before selling it back, keeping the films and the TV programs in its library that were made before May 1986. Later, Turner bought Hanna-Barbera's library of cartoons and needed a place to house all this media they just acquired. Ted Turner, the owner of Turner Network Television and the founder of CNN, assigned Betty Cohen to make a network to show these programs and came up with the Cartoon Network, which was shortened to Cartoon Network later on. It launched on October 1st, 1992, and was the first single-genre cable channel. In 1996, Turner Broadcasting System would merge with Time Warner, making it Warner Bros. Warner and Turner have so many things with their name in it, it's very hard to keep track of what's what. Anyway, Cartoon Network aired cartoons they acquired from MGM, Hanna-Barbera, and now Warner Bros. To fill the schedule. Most Warner Bros. Animated shorts had to be edited due to scenes involving drinking alcohol, tobacco, and politically incorrect humor. What fun. Later in the years, Cartoon Network decided to hold a couple blocks of programming to show new shows. Cartoon Fridays aired new episodes of cartoons and premiered new original shows that were exclusive to Cartoon Network. There was also the block called Toonami, which showed action-oriented series as well as imported anime until it ended on September 20th, 2008. But before those blocks were made, there was actually 2 original cartoons that came first, The Moxie Show and Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which would later be shown on the programming block called Adult Swim. After 11 p.m., the network noticed that the demographic that was usually watching were not kids, instead teens and young adults. Because of this, Cartoon Network would experiment with their late-night programming by showing anthology series that had uncensored classic cartoons, as well as Toonami's anime, which was uncensored. After The Simpsons aired in 1989, it showed that there was a market for animation geared towards adults, and some channels were hesitant to make their own adult cartoon. Mike Lazo, the vice president for Cartoon Network at the time, had an idea for an animated talk show aimed at adult viewers by reusing animation from Hanna-Barbera's 1966 cartoon Space Ghost. On April 15, 1994, Space Ghost Coast to Coast first aired on Cartoon Network. The show is a reboot and a sequel to the original Space Ghost cartoon and is about Space Ghost, a superhero, having a talk show and interviewing live-action guest stars with his two villain pals, Zorak and Moltar. The show was created by Ghost Planet Industries, which would change its name to William Street Studios and become the programmers and producer of Adult Swim. During the Space Ghost hiatus, Cartoon Network would do stealth premieres and show new William Street cartoons. These shows were The Brack Show, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Harvey Birdman Attorney at Law, and C-Lab 2021. As Lazo pitched all these different adult cartoons, he noticed there was a potential for an adult cartoon-focused block. First he named it Ibiso, which was apparently stop in Spanish, then Parental Warning, and then Parental Block, before landing on the name Adult Swim. The block was originally supposed to launch in April 1st, 2001, but since there was a 5-month delay, it launched on September 2nd, 2001, at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. The block has been running ever since, showing new surreal shows that would probably never be made if it weren't for Adult Swim. They played a big hand in reviving cartoons that didn't get to shine. For example, when Family Guy and Futurama got canceled on their networks, Adult Swim pulled them from their graves and showed reruns of the shows. Seeing that they were gaining popularity, the channels decided to pick them back up, which is why Family Guy is still airing, which, could be a good or bad thing depending on what you think about Family Guy. This also happened to the show Home Movies. It was made for UPN, but got canceled only 5 episodes in due to very low ratings. Luckily, Adult Swim bought it, and it went on for 3 more seasons. Now we got all the history stuff out of the way, we can talk about the fun stuff! The following sections are kind of going to be unscripted. Like, I still have a structure and all, but it's mainly just going to be like me talking off the top of my head, so enjoy. I don't get excited for a lot of things anymore, but there is 2 things that I get excited for. 1, what I'm having for dinner, and 2, the Adult Swim April Fool pranks. Since 2004, April Fools has always been a special holiday for Adult Swim, because what they would do is that they would mess with their schedule, and that was the prank, or they show something weird. Like, the very first prank they ever did was that they drew on mustaches of characters for the schedule that night. Like, you would just be watching Futurama, and for some reason Fry would have a top hat and monocle with a drawn on mustache. It was pretty silly. And then 2005, they showed the unfinished pilot for Squidbillies. Then in 2006, they played episodes of Full Metal Alchemist with fart noises added to the audio. One of my favorite pranks they did for One April Fools was that the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie was in theaters, and Adult Swim was hyping it up that they were going to play it on television. And they did. But only 2 minutes of it, until shrinking it really small down to the corner of the screen and playing the regular scheduling of the programs that they scheduled and stuff. And it was really funny because characters from the movie would pop up from the side of the screen, and a little tag at the bottom would be saying, "You are now watching Aqua Teen Hunger Force : movie for theaters right now." And you weren't. You could. There was literally only 3 pixels in that tiny little box. For 3 April Fools in a row, they played the movie The Room, and it looked like they were about to show it the 4th time, but it pauses, and we see a spaceship, and this robot guy comes in, and that robot guy is the mascot of Toonami. And they brought back the cartoon block Toonami again for one night only. But this prank got so popular that Adult Swim Online was like, "Hey guys, do you guys want Toonami back?" And everybody was like, "Yes! Yeah!" Adult Swim was like, "Alright, okay, calm down. What is wrong with you?" Adult Swim kind of has this weird vibe to it, and I think it's because of the bumpers they show. A bump, or a bumper, is a small clip that they show between cartoon and commercials. It usually advertises a show or just the channel itself, and they can be very different. Some can be funny, some can be chill, and some can be kind of creepy. Each bumper is accompanied by a beat that was sent in by a beat producer, whatever, and a lot of people contribute the bumpers to making lo-fi popular, because if you listen to the bumpers, they kind of sound same. The first ever bumps that appeared on the channel were footage of adults swimming in pools with like a lifeguard, either like announcing what show was coming next or just saying like things like a lifeguard would say, like telling swimmers do not break rules. Adult swim bumps are such a popular thing that in 2021 there was a TikTok trend where everybody was making their own Adult Swim bumpers, and it was pretty neat. And Adult Swim even did their own on the trend, and it was pretty funny. And it's probably one of the only TikTok trends that isn't dangerous or stupid. I wanted to show some bumpers here, but I think I'll be running over the 10-minute mark. So if you go on YouTube, you can actually find bumper compilations. So yeah, go watch them. Actually, watch them right now. I'm talking to you in your seat. I know one of you guys didn't put your phone in the phone holder. Sadly, I had to take it apart because I ran out of time, but there's a history of Adult Swim. I hope you learned something, and I hope you laughed. Goodbye.